Welcome back to Satisfactory. In the last episode, episode 7, we did quite a lot. In particular, we did over here this magnificent factory to do everything copper related. We have two pure nodes with miners Mark II that are going into those 4 blocks over here to make in total 480 copper ingots, and then this is transformed into 3 different things: the cables, copper sheet, and wires. Don't hesitate to check in the video description below if you missed it. We have also extended our power, right? Instead of 1 coal power station, we now have 2. So we're good on power, but if you saw the episode, you may remember that we also didn't do all of the objectives I had. I wanted to do power storage, but it needs stators. I wanted to do the AI limiter, and I wanted to also start the second elevator piece, the versatile framework. And we didn't get there because that was a big project. And I also mentioned that I wanted to start using this blueprint that I created, and don't hesitate to check in my Discord community if you want to find those blueprints, use them. But yeah, this highway basically, right, because we're gonna have the cars at the bottom, we can put trains in the future over here on the first level, then we have over here the hypertube, then we can put pipes over there, we can put belts in the middle, we can have the zipline there, so we can do a lot with this, highway. It has everything into it. And we wanted to do this highway to get over here to the Caterium, right? Bring the Caterium. But if you think this highway is gonna be big, you are sorely mistaken, because in this episode we're actually going to make a highway all the way over here to the mountain. Why, you ask? Well, I could say because we can, but I'm not that cynical. It's because we actually need to. There is quite a few resources that we haven't started to do. There's the stators, the motors, the versatile framework, the wiring, and all of these will require new resources that we don't really have over here, right? So basically we're gonna make a gigantic highway all the way there to bring all of the right resources. Going back to the Satisfactory map, this is where we started. We've used those iron nodes, we've used over here this copper, we have used this coal for our coal power station, and we started to use over here. We've used 2 out of 4 of the coal normal nodes, and we've used this iron pure node. So we're gonna need to start continue expanding, and as you can see, it is basically a nice straight line. If I put a nice straight line like this, I'm gonna be close to all of these depots, so we're gonna try to gather them all basically. So let's jump a bit into the future. And welcome to the future, where our first highway to the Caterium and even a second highway that's going so far you can't even see the end. Of course, I'm going to show them to you in details, but I also wanted to talk a bit more about what we are gonna do in this episode. First of all, definitely the AI limiters, that's what I want to do first. And this is gonna be a great opportunity also to show you how to work with trucks, tractors. Then we're gonna play a bit with the zipline. This is something you may not have seen in the past. So we're gonna look at this. The MAM want to do a couple of things, in particular use those AI limiters. And then you may remember there was 2 objectives from the last episode: the power storage with stator automation and the versatile framework. Well, spoiler alert, we're still not going to do both. What I'm going to do instead is actually, let's start changing, is, we're gonna start by first a factory to automate motor and stator. This way we will have the stators for the power storage, but we're also going to do the motors. And spoiler alert, it's a factory that's also going to make a 3rd good. But yeah, that's the factory we're gonna make first. And then actually we're not going to do in this episode the versatile framework. We'll do it in the next episode. But in the next episode, we won't do just the versatile framework. We will do also the 3rd and final piece that we need for the phase 2 of the elevator, the automated wiring. And then obviously on top of this, a big one, as I said, is basically my highway to hell. That's going to the end of the map. I'm going to show you, and we're going to explain also what we can do with this. So quite a few objectives with this. And yeah, over here, as I said, this is the first highway. Now I'm not gonna lie, this took a bit of time, not just to build it, because with blueprints actually it is quite quick to build those things, but for the resource. Because you can see just one of these is costing already more than 100 of concrete, 60 of iron plate, 40 or almost 50 of steel beams, and much more. And then for the 3 layers, it's obviously a lot more. So this cost a lot of resources, and I had to wait basically for those resources to be done. But with this, you can build it pretty quickly. And that's really what's great with the blueprint. You can place it, and especially with the build mode, to snap blueprint to each other, right? Like this one, I'm missing resources, but you can see snap directly, just click, and the whole thing is built. And by the way, also with update 8, if you press R when you're in dismantling mode, it will dismantle the whole blueprint at once. So that's amazing. But yeah, that was quite a bit of resources to do. Now, while we're at it, let me show you actually already the zipline so we can use it. Zipline, you find it into your equipment workshop right over here. It will require a xenozapper and a bit of resources, in particular the Quickwire, because that's where it's coming from in the map, if I'm not mistaken. Let's double check. Caterium, I think it was one of these, right? Yeah, this one over here. So you can see a bit of quick wires and cables, and you unlock the zipline. Right, so that's what we want to do. And yeah, we built it, then you put it into your hand like I did over here. And then on any cables that you can see, those ones over here, but also the big ones that are coming from those power tower. So you go on top of your platform, and then you're just going to jump and right click, or left click, sorry, to jump on it. Then you can press your normal sprint button to go faster, but be careful if there's something in the way, you're gonna need to jump. So yeah, that's what you did, and with this you can go very long distances. So that's what we're gonna do on a highway. You know, we can do the same on the highway. So let's go. I may need to jump a bit high. Let's see. No, got it. So it is on the highway. You can also go. When I sprint now, you can see hopefully it's going a bit faster. You do need to be careful about sharp turns like the one that's coming up right now. We may fall if we're not careful, but we're gonna try to follow nicely. Yeah, no, we fell. But anyway, so you see that was the first, almost fell to the death. But yeah, we had basically this first highway over here. You definitely can do nice round turns if you want, but it takes a bit of time. So just doing a sharp turn and continuing all the way over here to a new factory. It's a new factory for Caterium. Right? We used to have just 2 or 3 constructors in the middle of nowhere. Now we have a bit of a real factory making a lot of Caterium, as you can see, going into over here, this truck station. So we're gonna talk about the truck station, but before, let me show you a bit the whole factory. There is actually one open area here with some lights too. We have the miner that's been upgraded to Mark II, and I've also put 3 power shards to get it to 270. You could go all the way to 300, but my belt is limited to 270, so that's useless. That's basically electricity wasted. So instead, I'm going to 270, that way slightly less electricity. But yeah, we're making with this a lot of Caterium, obviously. That goes this way into those splitters, right? We have 6 splitters for 6 smelters. Each is 45, 45 times 6 is 270. And with this, we're making 15 times this 6, which is 90 of Caterium ingot. Right, that goes all the way over here into those mergers. And then we actually have 2 elevators, one for the first 3 and a second for the other 3. So yes, that goes up, right? And then we can start going up. There is stairs there, by the way, to go up and down. But yeah, we get into the main factory floor where we have those 2 elevators, and then all of those ingots are going into 8 of these constructors. So we have 8 of those constructors. There are 2 that are slightly underclocked, so that, you know, there's a perfect productivity. Now you may be wondering why I put 2 lines. This is just we're creating too much. I mean, we're creating 60 per. This is way too much on one belt, right? So even a Mark III belt, that's not possible. So that's why we have 2. And that works well with an industrial storage container because there's 2 inputs and 2 outputs too if we want. So that's why, you know, you can see over here, we have this one that goes up to go to the top of the industrial container, and then that goes into a truck station. So yes, we have trucks, and we have actually one that's working there, as you can see. It's gonna go on its own, right? I'm not doing anything. It's taking a sweet time for some reason. But yeah, it's going now. See, here it is. And it's gonna go all the way to my base, right? It's gonna take the highway back to home. So truck station, let me show you a bit. You go into transport, you have the truck station and the tractor. In the future we'll get even bigger the truck. But yeah, the truck station, this is the building you can see over here. Let me show you where we have a bit of space. Here it is. So we have the building, and then on top of the building you can see also quite a bit of space with a white block. This is where you're going to deliver. So that obviously needs to be free, otherwise your trucks won't be able to go there. It does require electricity too, right? There's an electric connection. That's why you can see the connection there. And it has quite a bit of inputs and outputs. It actually has 3 inputs. You have those 2 here and the third on this side, where you see, the canister, because it's for fuel. And then you also have 2 outputs, right? Because this can be either to load or to unload. So that's why, these ones are output, this one is input. Then you can see over here, everything that's in storage. So it's actually also a storage. So that's pretty great. You can see the fuel, right? In reserve, there's quite a bit of fuel there. So that's great. You can decide if this is going to be unloading or loading. In this case over here, it's loading. Then you can give it a name, right? So for example, for me, it's a loading station for Quickwires, right? And that's pretty much it. I mean, do tell me if you have any questions or anything like this. And by the way, you can also have different resources. You don't have to have only one, like Quickwires over here. You could have multiple. But in my case, I choose to have only one. Now you see all of those blue arrows. This is a route that I've already recorded, that I've created. I have actually multiple of these. So let's create a tractor so I can show you. Now, first of all, in the tractor, we will need a bit of fuel. There is multiple fuel in the game. Most of the vehicle can use anything that you want. Now, what's important is before you go into the tractor, you will see the front here, and then in the back, you will see a workbench. You need to open it to put the fuel into it. So I could put my solid biofuel. I'm gonna put more of the coal there. Now I have fuel. In the future, we'll have also diesel and all of this, right? So that'll be even better. But for now, this is what we have. And by the way, in the tractor, there is actually an actual workbench. If you go over here, you can craft things into your bench. But yeah, let's go now into the tractor, pressing E, and also you exit by pressing E, by the way. And now the tractor can move, with WASD, unless you've changed those controls, right? We can start driving. But what we can also do is we can record a new path, or we can load a path. Pressing V, I can look at the paths that I already have. We have, for example, one for the Quickwire. This is the one you saw, where it is basically a 1.5 kilometer route, which is going to consume around 15 of coal. And then there's a second one I've also already recorded of the coal in the desert, which is more than 3000 meters, so that's 30 of coal. But yeah, you can also start, recording a new one. You press Q to get into this, then you press start recording, and then you start record. It's going to create, a starting point that you may have seen, and then it's going to start putting, some of these blue arrows. Oh, it's consuming a lot of coal now. Sorry about that. So let's go a bit higher. But yeah, it's creating a route. And the key thing that's very important is for any of those routes to work, it needs to be a circle. You need to go back to the point where you started. So that's why you see here the starting point. I need to go back to that starting point. And then, by the way, obviously what you'll probably want to do is you'll want to load some resources. So you need to go to a loading station, press F to load some cargo, and then also go to another station to unload, right? But yeah, and then once you've done that, you'll be able to save it and then to enable the autopilot for this truck to do it on its own. By the way, what you can also do is now put this tractor on one of the routes that I've already created. If I think that this route is not transporting enough, I can also put a second one on it, right? And it will be fine. So yeah, now my tractor is coming back again. It's gonna take again more of these quick wires and deliver it to its delivering point, which I'm going to show you in a second. And for small route like this, it works pretty well. A bell for this is definitely possible, but it's a bit long, and also you may have many bells that start, messing with each other. And the train is probably overkill. The train basically doesn't even have time to speed up before it gets to the station, because stations are so big for trains. Versus a truck station is actually pretty small. You don't need a lot of space for it. It's just a couple of foundations. Now, I'm not gonna lie though, is trucks are not 100% reliable. Sometimes they have bugs. Can't tell you why and how and all of this, but it may happen. What is good is if you press M and you go on your map, right, you can actually see your trucks. And when the truck is stuck, maybe it doesn't have fuel anymore, or it has a problem, a bug, you will see it, right? There's gonna be a warning, it's not gonna be moving, etc. So that is, something pretty good. So now let's take my hypertube back to the base. I could have made an hypertube all the way to the base. I decided, to stop the first part of the hypertube over here, because maybe in the future we're gonna have another one go that way, another one go this way. It's a bit like a... So now we're taking a second one and going to the city. Again, don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below if you have any questions about hypertube or the trucks, anything like this, or about this blueprint for the highway. And look at the other highway we made. It's so long. It took me a while. So I'll definitely appreciate a like for all my efforts. So we're back to the base, right? We have over here our copper factory. I have, by the way, put also 3 truck stations for in the future, because we have 3 resources there, right? We have the cable, copper sheet, and wires. So we can have 1 truck station for each. But in this case right now, what my truck is doing is actually going all the way over here to another truck station where it's just unloading all of this wire, right? More and more wire coming here. I didn't actually make a factory for this, just wanted to show you how it's working. We have the truck station, we have the output in this case, right? It's not input, it's output, right? That's taking all of these wires into it. Then we have a storage container for some coal, because right now the coal is not really automated. So that's why I put a storage container. And then, yeah, we have this Quickwire going over here, being split into 2 of those assemblers to make AI limiters. We unlocked the AI limiters a couple of episodes ago already in the MAM with Quickwires and copper sheet. Now the copper sheet are coming from those 2 elevators there. So it's basically coming from below, from over here. So let's go there. That's why, I left one of these open. Here it is, copper sheet, just coming all the way there from this elevator. So it's not super clean or organized, but for now, it's gonna be enough. And so with this, we've started to make a lot of AI limiters. Actually, you can see it's almost full. We're arriving, basically at the moment it's gonna be full. But let me take 200 so we can put them into my MAM. So AI limiters with tractors, and by the way, look at this nice highway with my lights. Oh, it's already the day. But yeah, there is lights there, lights there, here. So I think even at night it looks pretty cool. I like it a lot. Don't hesitate to tell me if you disagree. But yeah, AI limiter with tractors, I think that is good. We've done it. And the Zipline too. I showed you, you can use it. Even if, to be honest, I probably won't use it a lot. I prefer to use Hypertube, because that way I can just wait to arrive. I don't have to do anything. Is the tractor coming? It's a good thing right now there's no traffic jam or anything like this. But yeah, that's automated. I love it. So let's go to the MAM and start using some of these AI limiters. First of all, let's unlock the power switch. Here it is. And secondly, let's unlock the smart splitter. Both of these are going to be super useful. We cannot unlock the supercomputer because it also requires high-speed connectors, and this one requires plastic, which we don't have yet. But that is some good progress with our AI limiters. I also did find one hard drive, so let's start scanning it. Now let me show you what we can do with the new things we just unlocked. First of all, the power switch, for example. Well, power switch for me, it's a great thing to put at the entrance of a factory, for example, over here, because the electricity from this factory is coming from this one cable there. So I deleted it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to connect it to the power switch and then connect the power switch to that entrance, right? So now with this power switch, we can turn off or turn on the whole factory at once, right? This is what you can see over here. I powered the whole factory off, and now I powered the whole factory on. And so I can even give it a name. This is my copper factory. So that's the first thing, power switch, basic power switch, that's really useful. Then in logistics sorting, I have my smart splitter, which is a splitter for sure, as the name says, right? You can see there is 1 input and 3 output, but it's a pretty special one because what you can decide is what to do with each of those outputs. Instead of being forced to send 1/3 into each of the outputs, now I can do things like on the left, just send the AI limiters, versus on the right, just send all of the automated wiring. So if I have one belt that has both AI limiters and automated wiring on the same belt, now I can split them, I can distribute them, which can be useful in many places, but can be, for example, in a train station or in a truck station, right? Where you have only one station, but you're bringing multiple things, and then you want to split them. So that is really useful. But another one that I really like is this over here. You can say overflow. For example, I can do this, which is you send nothing to the right, never anything. Then you send everything that's coming to the left. But then when the left is full, you start sending things to the center. If the left is not full, nothing is gonna go in the center. And this is really useful at the end of a factory. For example, over here, all of these storages are full, right? This is completely full, which means this belt over here, and therefore all of the constructors and smelters, etc., for this have stopped. They're not working anymore, right? They're useless in a sense. Instead, what you can do is you can put a smart splitter over here, just before the storage. And it's gonna say, send everything to the storage, but when it's full, send it this way. And then this way, on the overflow, I can put an awesome C. And so therefore, this way, this is always going to be working at 100%. And this is also always going to create points and coupons for me. Versus right now, this has just stopped and it's not doing anything. So smart splitter, really useful too. We're definitely gonna use them in the future. The only thing to take into account is if you do this, obviously it's always going to consume electricity. Versus right now, what's happening to me is most of my factories, they're full, so they're stopped, they're paused, and therefore I actually don't need a lot of electricity. But yeah, that's the MAM for AI limiters. Really happy that now we have done that. Now, before we talk about the factory to automate motors and stators, which I haven't actually started, I'll show you in a second where I want to do it. Let's talk about my highway to hell, and let's actually try to go on it. We have over here, obviously, another of this hypertube. So we pass my old factories over here, the quartz, for example, the copper factory, the coal power plants, right? Then we get into my empty space for power storage. And then we have over here the old steel factory. Then we have something new there. You'll see it soon. But yeah, the highway continues way further. We're not even halfway, I think. So, buckle up. Then we have some foundations there. I'll explain why some foundation here and there. Given that we actually stopped here, let me actually explain what's happening here. Is there are a number of mines. There is, for example, over here a copper. Here there's a limestone. And there's also copper over here just behind. And I think the iron is also pretty close. I don't remember which side, if it's that side or that one. Yeah, it's over here. You can see them there. There are 3 irons there. So these are resources I'm gonna want in the future. So I've already planned for it. I know I want them in the future. So we're gonna have a depot there in the future. And that's why I stopped the highway for a bit. But we're gonna continue even further. We're gonna continue all the way to the end of the highway to the mountain in the back. Enjoy the view. And look at my elevator in the sky. Space elevator, and we're still not there. But we're almost there, as you can see. Oh, there's a plug there. Oh, there's a slug there. We should go get it. Okay, we have arrived to the end. I mean, this is literally the end, there's a mountain. Oh, there's also a slug there. Now, when I say the end of the map is actually just behind. You can see just behind, this is the end of the map. So I could have gone slightly further. As for example, over here, there is a copper node. This is one we're gonna get to. Then over here, we have 2 irons. and there we also have 2 irons. And these are pure, you know, all of these are pure, and that's why we came all the way over here. You know, this is ton of iron plus a lot of copper, so we want those resources. But we're not gonna send those resources. Instead, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the other resources to come all the way over here. Don't ask me why, you know, I just thought it was fun to do it because we can. And yeah, actually here it is. We have a truck coming. So now I have 2 stations. One station for the coal over here, one station over here for the copper, which I haven't started yet. We can do it together. Yeah, here it is. I was talking before about bugs, as you can see. Yeah, this one got bugged for a second, but it's coming back. So yes, the copper I haven't started, but the coal over here, you know, we're delivering coal. The reason I'm also delivering coal is because this is the fuel, remember, for the tractors, right? So that's why I delivered the coal first, because now I can take this coal, I can store some coal because I'm gonna need some, but I can also send the coal as the fuel over here and the fuel for the other one. Now, though, as we just discussed, we have unlocked the smart splitter. So we can simplify this a bit. Instead of having 2 stations, we're just gonna have 1. This way we don't need this bit of a mess. We're gonna have a smart splitter that's going to split the coal into one storage and the copper into another. So yes, basically we're gonna bring coal and copper into this factory. We're gonna add a bit more copper from here. We're gonna add a lot of iron from here and there. And so with this, we're gonna have iron, copper, and coal all in this base, right? And so with this, we can create a gigantic factory. And actually, to be precise, it's gonna be 2 gigantic factories. There's gonna be the factory that I mentioned for my motors, stators, and something else, but also the factory to do versatile framework and automated wiring. So now if you've been following, you know we're bringing copper and coal on the highway to hell, but you don't really know from where, right? And this is basically over here next to a steel factory. We have there a copper node. It's a normal copper node. So I put a miner Mark II with 3 of those power shards so we can get to 270. All right, so the belt is full. Belt goes over here. Let me show you a bit. I'm not saying this is super pretty, but starting to use the concrete blocks and concrete foundations. Then we have over here one of those elevators. To put an elevator nicely like this, basically start by putting conveyor wall. Then you will be able to snap the elevator to it and then just delete the wall and it stays nice and clean. Right, then we have the road and it goes into this small factory, right, where we have 2 other nodes and these ones are coal, right? These are the 2 coal nodes we weren't using. Similarly over here, let's put 270. There's no reason to waste electricity, even if it's basically unlimited electricity at this point. Yes, here it is. So we have this one there and that one over here going into those 2 elevators. Then I put a floor hole. Now you may be wondering why I did this, put a floor hole there. Because an elevator like this is actually limited in size. I think it's limited to 20 or something like this. But as you can see, now I did manage to put my elevator from top to the bottom. This is when you have 2 floor holes, actually this limit doesn't apply anymore. Now let me show you actually. I'm gonna put a fake floor hole over here and a fake floor hole at the top. So then you can put your elevators, you know, at the top and reach all the way at the bottom. As long as there's a floor hole, you can put it as long as you want. There is no limit. So that's why there is, you know, basically a floor hole there and similarly one at the top. So we're bringing, you know, coal, and we're bringing the copper here, all into a big glass, you know, elevator basically. An hypertube to go all the way up. Here it is. Up. We're almost there. That's a pretty long one. And done. We have arrived to the top where we have our stations. One for coal again and one for copper. Now actually after a few tries, I think these ones are too close to each other. So it's creating a bit of problems. Okay, now that should work better. So let's start again. Tractor. Workbench. There's my coal here. Let's start driving. Recording. Go for it. Okay, now we can load only this one. Okay, it's not the perfect animation for loading, but that will do. And we go on the road. Let's go, let's go. Now, again, for now, there's not a lot of traffic jam, but still, be careful when you cross the road. And let's go. Okay, for this one, max speed 69 kilometers per hour. It's not the top speed of Top Gun, but yeah, it will do. It's still a highway to hell, so now I'm going to speed this up for you. Okay, so we're arriving finally. Let's go. Now, as we said before, we are going to use only one. So that's gonna be this one here. So we're gonna press F to unload. Go for it. Good. Perfect. And then we go back. And again, let me speed this up for you. Okay, we're arriving. Let's not miss our turn. Good. And we just need to go back to our starting point here. And done. So now pressing Q again, we can save it. We're gonna call it Rocky Desert Copper 1. Save. Now we can, by default, it's already loaded onto this truck, but if not, you can click over here to load it, right? And we're just gonna enable autopilot, press E to leave it, and it should go on its own in a few seconds. Sometimes they're a bit stuck, just move them along, right? And then leave them again, and here it is, it's going. Good. So we are making a lot of coal, we're making a lot of copper, and we're gonna deliver it all the way over here and make a big factory to automate motors, stators, and something else. Now let me make this, and I'll see you in a second, I guess. Welcome back to our truck station that has now been optimized. As you can see, instead of having 2 truck stations, we only have 1. So both of the trucks, both of the tractors to be precise, the one that's doing copper and the one that's doing coal, coming from these over here, right, on the highway to hell, they're both going to deliver into this truck station. So actually this truck station is going to have both coal and copper, as you can see over here. And that is why we have this over here a bit complex, but I explained, don't worry, to separate and also to make sure that it never gets full. So if it gets full, that could be a problem. For example, let's say it's completely full of copper, but it has 0 coal. That wouldn't work, right? So what is happening? First of all, basically I've done everything double, because remember we have 2 outputs. So I've done everything double so that we double basically the output, right? We have 270 on this belt, 270 on that belt too. But you could also do only one to get started. So then we have a smart splitter. The smart splitter, what's important is, you look at it from the point of view of the input. Right, this is the input over here in orange. So this is what the center, left, and right is based on. Now what it says is that on the right, we should send the coal, on the center, the copper, and on the left, nothing. So that's what's happening. The coal is going this side and the copper in the front into another smart splitter. Where here, what we're saying is, actually, there's nothing over here, but on the right is send copper. And when this is completely full, we're going to send the overflow on the left. So that's what's happening there, right? We're sending first on the right to get into this container. And when this is full, you send the rest on this side. Then there is a merger. We're gonna merge, this belt and that belt, thanks to this elevator, into one over here. So the reality is at this point, actually, this is limited by this belt, right, 270. If you want it to not have it limited at all, what you need to do is not merge and actually have two of those awesome sinks, right? Where the first belt goes into the first one and the second belt goes into the second. But, this is only to make sure that this never gets full, right? This is why I'm sending into the awesome sink. So it gets sync and creates points, obviously, so that's great. And then on the other side, we do the same for the coal, right? The coal goes over here. There is, by the way, also one smart splitter to make sure that here we put some coal into the truck station. But then otherwise, we get into those two smart splitters over here. And this smart splitter will do the same, where you have over here on the left, this is the priority. Make sure this is full. And then when this is full, you can go over here into a merger to go into the awesome sink. So that's what's happening over here again. We're delivering the coal and the copper, putting it basically into those two storage containers. And then the third resource is the iron, right? So we started also the iron all the way over here. I'll show you in a second. Just before, looking from that side, I have also put over here the square sign so we can see this is copper, coal, and iron at a glance. So let's follow this belt. In the future, we can make this a bit prettier, of course, but right now I wanted to show you the functionality where we have 270, it's a belt level 3 coming. We're using the same trick I showed you earlier, where I'm going to have a very long elevator, right, all the way down. And so to do this is we have a floor hole at the top, and we also have a floor hole here at the bottom. So that way you can make an unlimited size of elevator. And then, inside, you're just going to have another small elevator, right, that goes there and all good. So let's close that again. This is right now 240. We could put a power shard to get to 270, but I'll show you in a second that right now we don't actually need more than this. And later we can also do that miner, and there's more miner there, etc. So yeah, we're bringing those three resources, copper, coal, and iron, and we're gonna bring them into this bus over here. I've actually made even a blueprint of it. So of course I will put it in my Discord community, but it's a small bus 4x4. What you do is you do this, then you put it again, for example, over here, align it, and then you just need to put the belt right in between. And by the way, you can even do the same, putting it on the top and continue higher and higher. So we'll actually use this in the future, but for now, this is just a small bus with those three resources. So we're bringing it, and then we're gonna start to split those resources. For example, over here, we're splitting the copper. Over here, we're splitting the coal and the iron. You could continue it, and then maybe the next one would be only iron, etc, etc, right? And I see over here a power slug, so let me go get it while we're at it. There's a small protection, but that's all good. One. Okay, let's get it. I see also some nuts over there, so let's get them. Always useful. Good. Let's go back up. And so with this, then we're gonna have blocks of mini blueprint. This one you may recognize. This was the blueprint we already used for copper over here, right? 120, and we've put it twice. So that's gonna be 240 per minute. 120 there, 120. And then we're gonna start building on top of these, using again some blueprints, right? For example, this one was the 4 constructors. On this side over here, we're actually going to use another that has 6 constructors, etc. Then behind, again, this is also a 4x4. I've just added there one line in the middle, but this was a 4x4 and then another 4x4 blueprint, which is a new one for steel ingots. I will also put it on my Discord community. This is for 135 of steel ingot per minute with the basic recipes, because it has 3 of those foundries inside. So you see, this is iron and coal to make steel ingot, 45 each, and there are 3 of them. So that's 135 in a pretty compact, again, 4x4 layout, and comes out outside over here. And for this one, we do need 2 inputs, right? There's a coal on one side and the iron on the other. So that's why we also have the 2. I could have used one belt and used a smart splitter, but then you also need an overflow and those type of things. So I felt it was easier to just put two like this, and it's the same on this side. And as I said, we're gonna continue then building on top to transform, those things, transform the steel ingots into different things. So now let me show you what we're gonna do with it. Okay, so our goal in this factory is going to be making two new resources, the motors and the stators. But actually, to make it really a round thing, we're gonna do motors, rotors, and stators, all in this factory, all with the production per minute of 10, right? So 10 in total for each. Now, basically, to make motors, you need rotors and stators, which is again why I'm going to also make rotors once again on this factory. And we're just gonna make a bit more than what's needed for both, right? It's needed 20, we're gonna make 30. This way we're making 10, 10, and 10. Now to make the rotors, we're gonna use copper sheet and screws. And to make the stators, we're gonna use steel pipes and wires. So that's why we're gonna have basically 4 mini factories to make those 4 things. And then on top of it, we're gonna make, these with assemblers. So steel pipes, we want to make 90 steel pipes. That means we need 135 of steel ingots. That means 4.5 constructors. And that's all good, Still 135 steel ingots is exactly what we're making in one of those blocks I showed you before. Then we want 522 screws. That's quite a lot, but actually we're going to use a special recipe that we unlocked before for screws, which is using steel beams instead of iron rods. And with this, we only need, a bit more than 2 constructors, and then 1 constructor to actually make the steel beams that are necessary. So that's gonna be the second blocks of steel. And then we're gonna have 2 blocks of copper. One is gonna be for the wires, we need 240, so that's 8 constructors, which is basically gonna be 2 layers of 4. And that's 120 copper ingots, which is exactly again what one of our blueprints, so that's perfect. And we need 60 copper sheet, which is also actually 120, but it's 6 constructors. So yeah, we're gonna make those 4 ones. In total, as you can see, this is 175 of coal. We're making way more than that. 175 of iron. We're making 240 in the mine I just showed you before. And 240 of copper. And you may remember we're making 270 in the mine I showed you just before too. So yeah, this is how we're going to make rotors, stators, and steel pipe. As always, of course, don't hesitate to tell me if you have any questions, thoughts, or requests. Basically now, as you can see also on the side, I have put what I still need, and that means all of those resources which I have in my inventory right now. So I'm gonna be able to build it. So see you in a second when I'm done with this. And done, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you can still see that this is the same factory, right? We have the 4 blocks, 1, 2, 3, and 4, but we've obviously added a lot on top, right? This used to be only sort of 2 levels, now it's much more. We have also put, stairs so we can visit. There's also different architecture, like over here we have some pillars versus on the other side, it's a quite different look and feel. Also at the top, right, we have some that are covered with, this one we should definitely delete. Yeah, but we have this one that's covered with roof versus the other that's not covered. We have some doors and bridges to go across. Here we have a nice bridge transporting the resource. But yeah, let me show you again a bit what's happening. I think let's start, towards the beginning of the base. Remember, this is where we're doing copper ore, right? So we have 120 copper ore, 120. These are transformed into 120 ingots, and those ingots are going here and there, right? So let's go inside those 2 buildings. I took the stairs, starting with the left here. We have the ingots that are coming here, right? And they're going to be split. Half is going to go this way, half is going to go up. Now this way we have 4 of those constructors doing wires. We're actually talking about 30 wires, so that means 30 times 4, that's 120. And we basically have on the floor just above the exact same thing. We have 4 other constructors. So in total, we're merging the whole thing, all of those wires from the floor below and all of those wires here, they go onto this belt. We're talking about 240, so that's perfect for this Mark III belt. And yeah, then it's going to go on that side. But before we go onto this side, Actually, let me go a bit around. I'll show you again in the future what we're doing with those wires. But instead, first, let's go down again so that we can go on the other side of the building where we also have 120 ingots, but this time they're going to constructors for copper sheet. We're talking actually about 6 of them right now, 3 on this side, 3 on the other. Obviously, they're also being merged at the end here, and they're going into this bridge there. It's a slightly different bridge, but yeah, you can see going on the other side. So that's what's happening with the copper, right? We're making 60 of copper sheet and 240 over here of wires. So let's go on the other side where we're making the steel, right? Steel out of copper and coal. We have, again, 2 buildings doing the same, 135 of ingots is going up, and it's going up into 1 full floor. So, I can show you over here, I've made the floor, all into one. This is what you can see there. If we go on the other side, you will see, the ingots, some over here and some just behind this constructor here. So this one is easy. This is making some steel, just 1 of steel, and that's going then into 3 constructors to make screws. This is an alternate recipe. We're taking not a lot of steel to make quite a lot of screws, 200. And as you can see, we're making 200 per minute because this is actually what's needed on top. You'll see we have 3 of these Mark III elevators, each 200. I'll show you in a second what they're doing. But then on the other side, it's actually slightly different because here we're making steel pipes, and it's actually, I think, 5 with 1 being underclocked of making, the steel pipe from the steel ingots. And that's going to create all of the steel pipes that we need. This one over here being underclocked at 50%. So on the other side being merged, right? So it goes here, making pipes. So now let's continue to go up to start seeing, the assemblers. What are we assembling over here? So we're going to assemble on this side some steel pipe with some wires. So that's what you can see over here, right? We have the steel pipes coming there, being split, and continue to go up. Because over here we only have 3 of those assemblers, and it's not enough. We actually need 6. So this is actually double on the floor above. You may remember the wires are coming from over here, where some of them obviously will come on this floor and some will go on the floor above. Now on the other side, we're doing the other resource, which is rotors with copper sheet and screws. And remember, as I said, we're making basically 200 with each of the constructors, and each of the constructor is linked directly to an assembler. The elevator of the screws is this one, it's going directly into each of the assembler. On the other side, the copper sheet is coming from over here and being split into 3. So then obviously on the other side, we have the output, right? We're making stators on this side, and we're making the rotors on that side. Here it is, they're going up to the sky. So now let's continue up to the next floor. Over here, we have our bridge, and we're going to the final floor, where, as I said, first and foremost, we have the 3 same assemblers to make more stators. The pipes are coming from this elevator, going split, versus all of the wires are going over here to be split. And then we merge all of those stators with the stators from the floor below into this one. Then we have the stators here, and we have the rotors there. There's going to be a smart splitter there, smart splitter here. Because basically what we want to do is, remember, we're making 30 of those stators, 30 of those rotors, but we're only using 20 there, right? 10 per each. So what we want is obviously to first send all of the stators and rotors there, but then everything that's on top, everything that's overflow, send it this way. So basically, if I put a normal splitter like this, right, I have 30 coming this way, so that means I have 10, 10, and 10. So what I can do is then send 10 to one assembler, 10 to the second assembler, and 10 to the storage. But I feel it's better to put just one smart splitter. Right? This way also what you can do is make sure that this gets full and start it first before you start filling those storage containers over here. But yeah, basically that's what's happening, right? We have then splitters to have those stators and rotors split between those two assemblers, taking 10 rotors, 10 stators to make 5 motors. And then we're going to merge them. Look at these beautiful motors. The things are getting more and more complex, right? And then goes into 3 storage containers over here at the top of our factory. So this way, you know, when you're at the front of the factory, you see them all. You see the stators, the rotors, and the motors. So yeah, we started to make quite a few motors. And as I said, while this is not obviously the most beautiful factory, I didn't spend hours and hours making it. It's a pretty functional and well organized one, I feel. As always, I have put lights, as you can see inside, so that even at night, there is no problem into this factory. There are stairs to be able to move around pretty easily, as you saw during the presentation. So don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below if you have any questions, thoughts, or requests. But yeah, I feel this factory works quite well. It's basically quite a few different blueprints that are put together, and then on top, a couple of individual assemblers. Now, I know I said we would do power storage in this episode, but this episode is already getting way too long. So we're gonna move this to the next episode, but the good thing is obviously to make power storage, we needed some stators and we have automated this. So it won't be a problem. Thank you for watching. Once again, don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below if you have any comments, thoughts, questions. Smash the like button because it definitely takes a lot more time to do those episodes than the actual length of the episode. So I hope you appreciate it and I hope to see you next time.